A good conversation can shift the direction of change forever. Would you leave it to chance? Join the authors of Design to Change and explore this series of conversations with designers and event owners. Driven by the need and conversations with event owners and event designers who use the event canvas around the world, this series explores the depths of conversations to elevate your abilities to look and act beyond the now. Episodes are hosted by Ruud Janssen, Roel Friesen, Dennis Lehrer, and Paul Rukens, with illustrious changemakers, designers, and pioneers in the field of design and beyond. To explore these conversations and additional content, visit designtochange.online. For now, let's start the conversation. Conversations.
All right, we're back with Sharifa Wilkinson. Sharifa, welcome back to the Design to Change podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I can't believe it's been a year.
Right. 4th of October 2024 was our last recording, which was live on site at the Florida International University, a space that's also changed. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, I think, in this episode. My name is Ruud Janssen. I'm your podcast host for the Design to Change podcast, and Sharifa Wilkinson is joining us. And the first question I'd like to direct at you, Sharifa, is this one that was mentioned in the introduction. A good conversation can shift the direction of change forever. Would you leave it to chance?
And I believe, like last year, I said no. I don't think that you can leave an important conversation to chance. And what I'm starting to see more now is event managers, event planners, event organizers being really intentional on the connections that they're making or trying to create when they're hosting an event, which means thinking about who's going to be there and what do they really want from this event, and creating these intentional moments for the right people to connect. I went to an event in Toronto, just outside of Toronto in the Kawarthas, and it was hosted at a lavender farm. It was a small event just for maybe 20 to 30 people, but the intentional moments to connect made it so special. I think it's one of my favorite events that I've attended throughout the year. And she hasn't gone through this process of event design, but it was just about creating these really intentional moments for people to connect authentically. And from there stemmed some really beautiful conversations. So
that's amazing.
The answer is yes. To the question.
The answer is yes. Don't leave it to chance. We didn't leave this conversation to chance, although I almost scheduled it a little bit earlier than the year, had fully passed. But we, reconnecting across the many miles. You're, I think, in Miami today, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I'm dialing in from Basel in Switzerland. So although we're not as close around the table in the same room as we were last year, it still feels like once you have touched base and have a common language on how to speak about things, it's there's a reason to reconnect, right? And for those of you that have not listened to the episode 213, 213 is this episode, but 168 was the episode we recorded last year with you. Sharifa is the professor and teaching professor for mega events and event management and program lead at Florida International University. You have a very illustrious background as a very prolific soccer player in your field. You've contributed to many different events in many parts of the world, including in Qatar, in Australia. You've taught in the UK. You're originally from Canada, and here you are in Miami teaching about mega events and everything that pertains to it. What do you most remember about last year's conversation?
What I most remember is the setting and how we were able to bring event planners from all across FIU to participate in the event design and learn about event design methodology. And to me, that was really important to bring these amazing group of people together to learn about this to help to enhance our events across FIU and to teach this methodology, which I think is really important, which I teach my students, and I wanted those that were around me to be able to experience that as well. So our conversation obviously was great. It was wonderful. I also received my official event designer pin.
Yeah.
But I think it was the setting and being like knowing that my colleagues were able to participate in this that really made it special and meaningful for me.
Absolutely. I'm just, as we're talking, I'm scrolling through some of the photos that, we took on site. And it's always so interesting when you think about the things you remember about a certain situation and about a certain program. I believe that was cohort 53 that we had October last year in Florida for the Event Design
Mhm.
Certificate program. Many of the participants at the Covens Conference Center have since become certified event designers like yourself, right?
Woohoo!
So they
Wonderful.
have completed their project, they've submitted it for peer review, which has been approved, and probably quite a few of these events are currently happening or are about to happen in the near future.
Hmm.
Did you know that today, yesterday and today, actually the event that you helped design back when you were going through your program in San Diego State University, that event for IEEE is actually happening this week, right? So yesterday and today,
That
the
is
event in
amazing.
Glasgow, yeah.
Yeah, please tell me more.
Well, it's happening as we speak. So I think we're going to have to
Mm.
listen to the actual findings of Fred Schindler, who's been on the podcast, who is the event owner, and David Stankovic and Shoshank Gore, all people that have contributed, as well as to the event design session at large that we did in Hawaii in August last year, where 200 people together thought about this event after you guys initially thought it in January the year,
Wow.
of that same year last year about how to crack the climate change and clean tech technologies across all of the different silos at IEEE. And that event is happening right now. So sometimes when you think about something and you think about its potential future, if you manifest it, it might actually happen, right? Now, last year,
Absolutely.
last year, that's exactly, I think, what, we aim to do with this podcast as well, is we asked you about your horizons of change. Um, and one of the things you mentioned is that on your list of things you'd like to do in the future is have deeper research about the future direction of events and mega events, I think specifically. And then you also had this wish of contributing or somehow finding a way to contribute to the next mega event that might be happening in your part of the world or elsewhere, right? Tell us
Mm.
about that and what things have happened, what has transcended over this past year,
Yeah,
when it
of
comes to your
course.
horizon of change.
Hmm. Well, probably one of the biggest ones is I started a doctorate at Florida International University. It's a doctorate in business administration. And
Fantastic.
my research project is focused on the relationship quality between micro and small businesses and mega events. So, looking specifically at the FIFA World Cup 2026, which is happening across North America, and in LA 2028. So right now, I'm just going through the process of collecting data to be able to see what do micro and small businesses require from these mega events? What are their expectations from these mega events when they come to town? And then also examining what is the internal readiness? What do they need to have in regards to knowledge, resources, networks to be successful in this space? So that's one of the ways that I'm hoping to continue to contribute to the mega events ecosystem. It's a personal passion project of mine, and I'm excited that I can actually formalize it and study it deeply over the next couple of years.
Hmm.
So that's one of the pathways. And then the second one is with my students, which is something that's always really important to me. We were able to collaborate with the FIFA World Cup 26, and we hosted a recruitment event specifically for FIU hospitality students, in which three recruiters came out and spoke to students about the internship program and what they could do to better prepare themselves to be competitive, especially because we have only like their internship program has only 50 spots across the United States. So highly
Okay.
competitive program. You have thousands of applicants. And yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, like at least a couple of my students get some spots for their internship program. But that
Mhm.
was really important for me, creating a pipeline so that students that have the education, that have the experience, that have the right attitude, could then transition into this mega event space and be that social legacy for the at least for the FIFA World Cup for now, and then hoping to work on a couple projects maybe with the Winter Olympics. But then definitely LA 2028 is something that's a little bit further away, but focused on that as well.
So those are no small feats, right? So the pathway to the doctorate, connecting micro and small businesses to mega events and seeing what kind of readiness or internal readiness they have and how those expectations match up. I think those are very pragmatic but very important things for creating social impact and legacy impact for these mega events, right? Which seem so imminent. You know, if you look at FIFA 2026, you were involved with the FIFA World Cup in Qatar back in, remember which year was that? 2022?
2022, yes.
Yeah. Um,
Feels like ages ago now.
yeah, I'm like thinking back. When was that again? 2022?
Yeah.
And then, I mean, mega events have been a thread in your career, connecting dots, if you look at it in hindsight, right?
Hmm.
Um, and you creating a pathway for your students to be able to access those kind of networks through your connections and by enabling the student recruitment events is fascinating. I remember last year when we were in Florida, you were also about to take or had just no, you were about to take, I think, students um, um, to the Super Bowl event. I think that was happening at the time. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
How did that
So
go?
yeah, we took a group of 22 students to New Orleans to participate in the Super Bowl and the Super Bowl experience.
Yeah.
And it is just a fantastic opportunity for the students to be involved in one of the largest events that America hosts annually. And we participate in something called the Teammates Program and the Super Bowl experience. And then through the Teammates Program, they kind of put you in contact with vendors that work on the Super Bowl experience, which is like a fan festival leading up to the Super Bowl hosted
Hmm.
last year in the New Orleans Convention Center. So every day was jam-packed. We left the hotel at 7 a.m. and we would get in at 11, sometimes midnight. And we did that for 5 days in a row. The
Build some
actual
stamina,
super
right?
built some stamina, and you really got to see what the students were made of. I think for the most part, they were tired, but they showed up every day. They had a great attitude. And the ones that really like took advantage of the situation, they were talking to everybody. They were making friends with other schools and connecting with other professors, and you could see that they were so passionate about what they want to do long term in their career, and they were making it happen. I was so proud of them. Actually, a good story for Super Bowl day. I've actually never seen that much security at a sporting event, and I've been to some decent sporting events in my life, but it was due to I believe President Trump was attending that Super Bowl. So yeah, never seen a security setup like that before in my life. So it was really exciting to talk to my students about like traditionally what I've seen and then the elevated level of service.
Yeah.
And the day of the Super Bowl, it was absolutely gorgeous for most of the day. Our students worked in campus fan services. They were strategically positioned around the venue to help with like wayfinding and over like enhancing the overall experience of the guests. And then maybe 30 minutes before the game was about to start, the sky turned black, and then it just like the clouds opened, the rain came down, and we were completely soaked. And even with that, they still had a really good attitude. They were, just taking it on the chin and continued to serve
Rain or
in their
shine, right?
their roles. Yeah, so it was great. It was great to see our students be able to participate in something like that and gain that experience and have something to talk about when they go into job interviews.
Yeah. Now, these are opportunities that you are able to capture on because you make them possible for your students. There are many different types of professors at many different types of universities. What drives you to explore these things, which I'm pretty sure might create some sleepless nights for yourself as well? And now, as somebody that has to then take charge and responsibility of bringing the students there and organizing it, and how does that make you feel as a professor? What are your pains and gains when it comes to doing these types of things?
Yeah, that's a great question. It happens all the time where I say, I'm just going to focus on this year. And then a student will come to me and they're super passionate about an experience. And then I make it happen for them because they want it.
Hmm.
And if they want it, I'm happy to work for them to make it happen. So a really good example of this is IMEX. I'll be speaking on Monday and Tuesday at IMEX. I wasn't
Next week.
intending on next week,
Yeah.
which, yeah, I leave on Sunday. I wasn't expecting to bring a couple of students, and they said, no, we really want to go. So making it happen. I'm bringing a few students. They're going to participate in the Futures Leader Forum, and
Yeah.
then creating the experience for them on the Tuesday where they'll be able to stop in and meet industry professionals and do behind the scenes tours. Essentially, if they want it, I'm happy to make it happen. And the ones that ask me, they're super appreciative and they work with me to ensure that these experiences happen. I mean, if students had bad attitudes and they weren't thankful, then I'd probably be a lot more reluctant to step in and help out. But they are super appreciative, and then you see the fruits of your labor, and I think that is what motivates me to continue to help them. I mean, one of our students, for example, we were able to get FIFA to come to the South Beach Wine and Food Festival to see 3,000 of our students participating in this festival, from
Mhm.
everything from helping sponsors to checking students in to being on the ground, helping the event managers. And I was able to introduce one of our students to the head of recruitment at FIFA. And then from there, she was able to secure a role, and now she works for FIFA. So kind of that cycle is amazing. And now she's trying to, help recruit other FIU students to also engage in FIFA. So I help them, they help somebody else, and it creates this beautiful ecosystem.
It's how the world goes around, right? Through the connections and through the pathways that you create.
And
Um,
sorry, just to add to that, that same student, sorry, the reason I brought this up is she had come with me to IMEX the previous year. And because of that time together, she was able to tell me about her dream of working for FIFA and working in sport and what she does for the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. And then when I had that knowledge, I was able to make those connections. So
and
students
I
put
think
in.
that's amazing mentorship in action right there, right?
Mm,
And
yeah.
she didn't leave it to chance, but sometimes you need an event to have the time to speak as well, right? Like what you were saying, like you traveling together to IMAX, and she could probably open up a bit more about her dreams to you, which, in a classroom setting you might not always have, or in a normal, campus setting. Because you were
Mhm.
traveling and doing something together, this gives space to the conversation and allows to connect in a different way, I suppose.
Exactly. Exactly. But it was her being really proactive because I always share this information with students. Hey, like there's an opportunity. Let me know if you want to do it. If you do, great. If you don't, then I'm not gonna, push because there's other things that I could be working on.
Yeah.
And she was one of the students that was like, yes, I would love to come to IMEX. I think it's going to be a great opportunity. She did her research. She knew who she wanted to connect with. And kind of that proactiveness made me want to help her more, create those connections. And yeah, there we are, her working for FIFA less than
It's
a
a
year
small
later.
world, right? It is a
It
small
is.
world. 3 episodes ago, I was speaking to Karina Bauer, the CEO of IMAX, and
Mhm.
Suzanne Mulligan and Sophie Pink, who do their social media. Um, Sharifa, you and the Event Design Collective met through IMAX as well.
Yes,
Also a chance
absolutely.
encounter, I suppose, or maybe not.
I don't know if it was. It was part of the faculty program that they have at
Yeah,
IMEX every year,
yeah,
and part of it was going to the event design booth,
yeah,
and that where we met Devin, sorry,
yeah,
and yeah, she inspired me. She sold me. We were talking about the Olympic Games, and we were running through. I think it was like a basic stakeholder mapping exercise. I thought this is great. I want to
yeah,
learn more.
yeah,
And then it inspired me to come to San Diego and then host a session at FIU.
yeah.
So big fan.
So it's fun to see these, these connections deploying over time, right? So next week we're also going to be at IMEX America. My colleague Roel will be there with Alyssa Hurley, and we have in stand F416. So make sure to go see them if you're on site. We
Hmm.
actually have the case study that we were just talking about of the event happening this week. Um,
Nice.
that some of the background of that design will be, presented there as well. So I think it's really exciting to see how all these things kind of mesh together and become a reality. Now, a doctorate is no small project.
No,
Um,
it is
Yet
not.
FIFA is in 2026, the opening of the Olympics LA is 2028. What does a window for a doctorate look like in terms of like if you look at the horizon of change? How how do you plan for something like that to happen? And how do you map out that pathway for yourself? How does that work?
I've been looking for a program which allowed me to do applied research as opposed to theoretical research. And when I was in the UK, I'd thought about doing a doctorate, and then I decided to go work on the FIFA World Cup, so the timing wasn't great. And then FIU Hospitality, they just announced a DBA, which is a doctorate in business administration with a specialization in hospitality. And as soon as I saw that posted and the requirements and the takeaways
Mm,
from the course, I knew it was something that I needed to do. So I'm part of the first cohort uh, that you can get your DBA with a specialization in hospitality. And so far, it's been an amazing journey. It is wonderful to be challenged intellectually. And
mm,
I say that now almost a year in. But
mm.
at first, it wasn't so wonderful because I'm doing statistics and I hadn't done statistics in a very long time. And the amount of reading was a real challenge, especially because as part of my job, I do so much reading. So then to come home at 5 or 6 and continue to read and make sense of, these journal articles and present them in a way that my professors are satisfied with can be a challenge at times. But how does this all fit into my journey? I knew at some point I was going to be here. I love teaching. And if I want to continue to be in this space, a doctorate was the next step. But I also wanted to work on a meaningful project. Mega events is so important to me. And I want to continue working with this industry in some type of meaningful way. And
Mm.
I thought, I have the operational experience working as an industry professional. I have the athletic experience being a high performance soccer player. And I felt like this academic piece kind of created this triangle, this trifecta, in which I have, all these different touch points as well as, working with Ontario basketball and more of a governance and being on the board capacity. So sport is everything
Yeah.
to me. And
Do you
I'm
still get
just
to
trying
do
to
a lot of
cover all my
sports?
bases.
Do you still get to do a lot of sports regardless of all this other projects that you're doing, or how does that fit into the equation for you?
I don't play soccer much anymore. I've transitioned into tennis and I love tennis. I play tennis 3 or 4 times a week and it's great. I've never played a sport with a tool. Uh, Playing soccer, you just have a ball, but with tennis, you're playing with a racket. I've never played a racket sport.
Yeah.
And it's been great. Never playing tennis in my life and now being decently proficient and looking to start playing tournaments. And it's been wonderful. Another sports journey, another.
So
Yeah,
keep
that I'm trying to
trying.
tackle.
So you keep trying new things as well. It's like not stick to the old and become even better at it. Although you were at the top of the game already when it comes to high performance soccer. Um, how does it make you feel to be a student in a program, in a doctorate program, whilst you're teaching other programs? Like, does it help you rethink from the perspective of a student how you teach as well? Or do you feel like you've grasped that pretty much?
No, I'm always learning from my professors. I have there's some really great professors in this program, and I see what they do. I see how they tell stories. I see how they connect with their students, and I'm constantly tweaking what I do after I learn from someone. And it's not necessarily always professors. If I'm in part of a training and I like the way that a trainer introduces something, then I'll add that into my classroom experience as well.
Hmm.
One of the techniques that I love about one of my professors is he makes sure that he spends time with every one of his students. Our class is, I think there's about 17 of us, but throughout the course, he makes sure that he says hello to everyone. He says your name. He asks you how you're doing. And it's like these moments that, you don't really think about when you're a professor because you're trying to cover the content, you're trying to do so much. But those moments where he says, "Hey, Sharifa, how you doing?" And he says your name and he looks at you and he's, waiting for your response, um, is really meaningful as a student.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've taken away where I'm really trying to make sure that everyone's name is said, hear how they're doing. And I'm not great, sometimes classes pass by and I don't get to everyone, but I'm trying to be more intentional about those interactions as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. That's a small cohort, 17 people. You could imagine to know these people. Now, FIU last time, I think you said had what, 55,000, 56,000 students. How big are the
Yes.
classes you're normally teaching when you're teaching mega events? What kind of size classes are you working with?
Yeah. So it ranges between 30 to 50.
Okay.
Yeah. So in-person classes about 30 to 50. Sometimes a little bit smaller, sometimes a little, never more than 50.
But that's one of the challenges, I think, when you start scaling things or when it becomes bigger, right? It's those techniques and opportunities are maybe more difficult to capture. Although
Mhm.
if you want to do things at scale, you have to be more systematic maybe about them.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And maybe you don't get the time in the class, but after class, you can check in with the students to see how they're doing.
Yeah.
Takes a little bit more time, but I think it pays dividends.
Yeah. It's one of the things I still remember from taking an executive program at Cornell, where the host of that program on the first day and on the last day literally goes around the class without notes, calls everybody out by name, where they're from, introduces them,
Wow.
and it completely knocks your socks off right there as you start the program, right? Because
Hmm.
somebody has taken the effort to memorize and but also show the impact of what you're just mentioning, right? Just making that connection, saying somebody's name, knowing something about them, introducing them out loud to other people with the risk of making mistakes or getting it wrong
Hmm.
or but the impact, the social impact of something like that can be quite significant, right? It creates
Agreed.
memories that um, they might not be um, academically super complicated to do, but their impact is long lasting.
Hmm.
Yeah. Something else you guys have changed is the space we were in last year, right? The space where
Yes.
we were designing. I think were we designing the opening of the Olympics and the dry run as well. I think last October.
I can't remember exactly what we designed. Yeah.
I think the dry run we worked on the opening of the Olympics, and then we and then we selected one of the projects as the students. But the space at the convention center, the center that you have, has now been converted into, or not I mean converted, but has been changed and been activated. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Correct. Yes. So we just unveiled the Bill Hansen Catering and Events Lab, which is a generous donation through Bill Hansen, who is a Miami legend caterer, and events professional.
Mm-hmm.
He's been in the business for, I think it's like 50 years now, something ridiculous like that.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, super supportive of the program. Also, a FIU hospitality professor. He taught for many, many years at the hospitality school. And the whole idea came about through Dr. Dan Cormany, who is my predecessor, and Gabriela Neves, who is a president of Factory 360, and their experiential marketing company. And they were
Mm-hmm.
having dinner one night and they were talking about, it would be great if we had this experiential space where students could, apply their learning in a real world manner, just not a theoretical lab. No,
Mm-hmm.
let's do something that's a little bit more engaging.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Dan Cormany passed away before the lab was, the idea was able to come to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this year we were able to unveil the lab. And the whole idea is that it's not just a space where it's about ideas, it's where students will be doing. So they will be hosting events in this space. And they are going to be designing events in this space, designing, planning, coordinating everything in this space. So some of the assets that we have a floor planning wall with some magnets so students can like actually do layouts prior to developing them on
Mm-hmm.
different software. We have a whiteboard wall. We kind of have this, it's kind of like a showroom space where they're able to see the different tablescapes items, cutlery, chargers, and come up with new ideas. We also have these like gigantic mood board walls where we're going to get some magazines and they're going to be able to come up with different mood boards for their events.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're adding some lighting to be able to show the impact that lighting can have on the events itself.
Yeah.
Right now, the only technology in the room is like a smart wall, like a smart screen.
Mm-hmm.
But we're hoping to deck out the room with a little bit more tech, like speakers. And right now, it's like all temporary, but have it
Yeah.
affixed into the room.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little bit about our events lab. Trying to consider how we incorporate the event canvas into it at the moment, whether it's on the, when I teach it, we just kind of put the canvases up on the wall, but now some of that space is removed. So do we use like these mood board walls? So trying to work through that. But I did have a good story about a pitch competition that we've delivered. So
Uh-huh.
I can talk about that after, or I can talk about that now.
Happy to hear the story. Stories are always great about application, right? So,
Yes. So we decided to do a South Beach Wine and Food Festival, which is the festival that FIU is a part of every single year. Started on the FIU campus, and
mm-hmm.
now it's down on South Beach. Um, we just decided to do a pitch competition to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the event.
Mm-hmm.
And we've tasked our students with coming up with a way to engage a new and younger audience, 25 to 35-year-olds, because the average attendance is a lot older, generally because the ticket prices are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wine and Food Festival is all about wine and food and having a wonderful time. So keeping some of those principles in mind, but also engaging this younger audience that doesn't consume as much alcohol, is a lot more wellness focused. So how could we bring in some of those elements? So one of the activities that we did is we brought out the empathy maps and got students to think about the attendee, like what they want, who they're designing this experience for.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't actually get to go through the stakeholder prioritization. We just focused on the attendee itself. But
Mm-hmm.
using the empathy map, we got them to think about, okay, who is this person? What are some of their pains? What are some of their gains? What do they see? And then took that information to help build out their pitch. So that was really cool because they had these really robust avatars that they then designed around. and the South Beach Wine and Food Festival, when we actually did the pitch competition, we brought in the founder of the modern South Beach Wine and Food Festival, the senior director, as well as the dean, and they had to talk about these avatars and how they developed them and some of the features around that. So that was a cool addition of the event canvas methodology that we used for this pitch competition.
That's awesome because events at their 25th anniversary might be built on traditions of the current audience, but when there are shifts in trends, like you're saying, where alcohol consumption goes down, wellness attention goes up, there's a different need set
Yes.
from a new audience. And if you wait long enough, then your audience will shrink over time, right? So I think this is a very wise and interesting way to introduce um, the thinking of the fresh minds into something that's built a tradition apparently over 25 years, right?
Hmm.
I'm keen to see how that develops. And thanks for sharing that story because it's always inspirational when we hear and we see in action how design flips into reality, right? Just this week, Innovation Square at the Tax-Free World Association conference in Cannes took place, and some work we did with their team in Paris earlier this year through our connections at Marina Bay Sands all of a sudden was live on the beach in Cannes in front of the main festival for an event for 8,000 people. And
Wow.
you see thinking turned into reality, and then you see the reel of the video of here it is, right? And it's funny how sometimes when you design but don't see the output of it, sometimes you get detached from the design, or you end up um, in the bubble of design, right? And what I like in your approach there, and that's really encouraging, is as time passes, designs can turn into reality, or the bubble can be popped and nothing happens of it. That's also possible. But it sounds like you and your students are really going full circle on these things, and putting the realities to work and seeing them in action.
Hmm.
And I think that's really powerful because, like you said, mega events and the types of events that you're involved in um, are big business. They also impact a lot of the micro and the small businesses as you research in your doctorate. Um, but there are big decisions that need to be taken about these events, and there are very small micro decisions that impact all sorts of angles of the event. And I think your inspirational stories of seeing these from across the globe and bringing them to your students and then putting them into action are typically I think this is what we need also to come back into the industry at IMEX next week and share those stories and bring your students to expose them to the industry. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that those students are interested in joining this industry and being part of the talent pool that we require to sustain what's going on in the future, right? So uh,
Absolutely.
you guys have
And
very
that's one of
important
the
jobs.
I agree. That's one of the things that I'm speaking on at IMEX on Monday and Tuesday
Yeah,
is what the next generation of events professionals, well, not necessarily events professionals, but professionals need. I'm working with hundreds of students every single year, and sometimes I receive really great feedback from industry, and sometimes, sorry, from students on industry, and
yeah,
sometimes I don't. And it's highlighting to industry some of the feedback that I'm getting or receiving from students when they're entering the workforce. And sometimes, when I share with industry, oh, students shared this, or, you know, perhaps you need to take a look at that, industry gets really defensive and they say, oh, students, they don't have the work ethic that we do, or they're lazy, or, they won't stick it out. But when you hear the student side and some of the experiences that they had, you understand why they're not willing to stick it out. So
yeah.
I'm going to be challenging some of those assumptions and trying to give some recommendations for some of the best ways to work with students moving forward.
I think that's amazing. And the one thing that our event industry needs to design for is for a very big stretch of time between entry behavior and exit behavior of the industry, right? If that entry
Yes,
exit curve is too short, you're basically not catering to the needs of that future generation. And I think making that connection between what you see happening at university level transitioning that into the workforce to get the talent pool to really connect to it, I think is critical to the success of the near future and the further future of this industry. So thanks for doing that. And I think last time, as you mentioned, how you went from your sports career into the academic career, and now, connecting all of these, trifecta angles into one space. I think is very inspirational. If people want to learn more about the program at FIU, we'll make sure that we add those links to the show notes, and people can find out more. Can people reach out to you, Sharifa, on LinkedIn if they hear something and go, I need to talk to
Absolutely.
Sharifa about it? Yeah.
Yes, please. I
Awesome.
always say just add a brief note, especially if we don't have any connections in
Yeah.
common. So I
That
know
you
what
heard.
you want to chat about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that
but
you heard this on the
please,
podcast and
exactly.
make the connection like that. I think this is always
Exactly.
interesting. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today in reflecting on this past year and looking at, the future horizon of change. I think you have many exciting things coming up. Safe travels to IMEX America. Say hi to our friends there.
Thank you.
And make sure to go stop by booth F416, Event Design Collective. Happy
Perfect.
to welcome you and your students there as well.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
looking
I just
forward to
wanted
our
to
next.
say,
Go ahead.
last year, you were really gracious enough to spend a few moments with our students. And it was great because we had had a conversation, not like maybe a few minutes earlier, where they had said, you know what, sometimes professionals don't have time for you. And, you have to, be selective on who you speak to. And you said the complete opposite. Like, no, go and make as many connections as you can, speak to everyone.
Yeah.
And that was really encouraging for students, kind of like the opposite of what was said before. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you being so encouraging and telling them to get out there and speak to other people, because it's one thing to come from me. It's another thing for an industry professional to say, no, go speak to people. While they might look busy, they can give you 5 minutes of
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah.
And they should.
If you want something done, give it to a busy person, right? That's one of the things that you know from this industry. And
Absolutely.
and if you have a compelling story and a good question to ask, right? Think about how do you ask for help, and how do you enable other people to make connections for you, with you, right? I think that's that's how this industry creates its value. And I think you, for one, are a fantastic mentor for them to have. And I encourage, if you haven't met Sharifa, reach out to her, connect with her, see if you can meet her at IMEX America next week in Las Vegas. Or who knows, maybe you'll sign up for a doctorate at the business administration for the BDA program, right, that you're going through.
Yeah.
That
At
sounds like a very
FIU
exciting
is a
prospect.
school. It is. It is. I mean, 3 years lockstep, and you're in a cohort, and they become your family because you're there twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, and then you have to meet in person once a month, all day Friday and Saturday. So it works around people that work full-time schedules, and we
Okay.
have a wide range of different professionals. We have people that work in real estate. We have those that work for large manufacturing companies. We have lots of vets. So it's, yeah, really interesting cohort of people that have
Yeah.
come together that are all passionate about education and bettering themselves.
That's awesome. If you learn together, you stay together, right? That's one of the things that happens, and friendships are made in that way. So thank you so much for being back on the Year Plus One episode, Sharifa. It was a real treat to catch up with you. Good
Agreed.
luck next week and on the next steps in your doctorate, and we'll be in touch again very soon, no doubt.
Love that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You've been hanging out backstage on Design to Change Designer Conversations. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe and share conversations online using hashtag Design to Change and hashtag Event Canvas. Want more thought-provoking content like this? Visit designtochange.online to purchase your copy of Design to Change, elevating your abilities to look and act beyond the now. Don't forget, it's more than just a book. Experience a hard copy, audio format, video format, and even augmented reality. Experience it in your style and format. Tune into our next episodes and hear from more designers and change makers. Until then, we look forward to our next conversation.